Hello, folks. Welcome to today's live stream, Resume Writing Mistakes to Avoid in 2022. We are covering the hottest trends and forecasts that you need to pay attention to. Now, if you can hear me and audio is coming through and everything's working properly on your end, make sure you give this video a big, huge thumbs up so I know that you're here. Also, drop a line in the chat. Let us know where you're joining from. Say hello. I know a lot of you have already joined us. I'm so excited to see you guys here. Boy, do we have a lot to cover. It looks like Rose Angela was here super early. So happy that you're here. Tori's also my team member. She is in the chat. She's moderating the chat. She's also getting questions in front of me during today's live stream. You guys are going to want to take notes because we have so much to cover, okay? And I'm going to get you through the information as quickly as possible, but you definitely need to tune in. And I have a very, very special holiday offer for you at the end. Notice I have my holiday necklace on just for you guys. So say hello in the chat. Deanna is here. So happy to have you here. Let's see, who else do we have here? My chat, I got to scroll through my chat. Alan is here. Nancy is here. Ryan is here. Justice is here. So happy to have you guys. Say hello. Can't wait to jump in and dive into all this good stuff with you guys. So again, we are covering resume writing mistakes to avoid in 2022, hottest trends and forecasts. Okay, as you're continuing to join us, say hello in the chat. I'm going to jump right to my slides because we have quite a bit to cover. So let me pop this up here on the screen for you. Let me make sure I can flip through my slides easily. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. So I want to ask a question for you, ask a question to you in the chat. Of course, if you haven't already typed in where you're from, let us know where you're from, but also let me know what your biggest resume writing challenges are, okay? So what do you struggle the most with your resume? And then I also want to know what your ideal job title is. So type that into the chat. While you guys are typing that in, let me explain a little bit about who I am. So my name is Heather Austin. If you've never met me before, I am a career strategy expert here on YouTube in 2000, well, not just here, but this is where I'm live streaming today. In 2017, I took all of my corporate and academic experience and decided to start a YouTube channel sharing everything I know about career development. So I was a university professor, a program chair, an academic dean. During that time, I hired hundreds of faculty members, but I also had the opportunity to teach others how to do the hiring. So I started my YouTube channel back in 2017. Mainly because I was tired of all the corporate politics. There were a lot of layoffs and resignations happening at that time. And I was kind of tired of the uneasiness that brought. I also didn't feel valued and appreciated for the work that I was doing. So let me know if that sounds familiar. So here I am. Today, I have started my channel teaching everyone on planet Earth everything that I know about career development. So my goal for you in this training is for you to learn what mistakes you're making on your resume. And by the way, we're not just going to talk about resume today. That's a big part of it, but what mistakes you're making on your resume, how you can fix those, and how you can move forward to land a life-changing position. So let me see where you guys are in the chat in terms of where you're from, what your biggest resume challenges. I see Robert's here from Texas. I love it. April says, hello, beautiful humans. Hello, April. Jennifer is here from Southern California. I love Southern California. It's such a beautiful place to live. Well, the weather's beautiful. April, Washington State. Okay, let me kind of see where you guys are. Jennifer says results-based statement, keeping work history short. Oh, that's a big one. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Deanna says biggest challenge is knowing how detailed to go with each job. Yes, that's true. That's a big one as well. Let's see. Someone says resume. Oh, references maybe, I think is what you're talking about. Sorry. Taking my experience and making that relatable to a different field. Yes. Keep sharing your biggest challenges, you guys. I want to make sure that we cover this. Nancy mentioned something about the ATS. We are going to talk a little bit about that. Now, again, you guys mostly know me from YouTube. So over the years, we have been able to teach and influence over hundreds of thousands of job seekers to find work that they love. So by the way, if you are not yet subscribed to this channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. And of course the like button. It lets me know that I should conduct more trainings like this and host more events like this. So by the way, we are also doing resume reviews at the end of this. So at the end, I put out a call to everyone in my audience. And by the way, you guys, this was the hardest of all the resume review shows we do. This was by far the hardest to select resumes because we had so many and they were all so good. And they're all getting to the point where I can see you guys are listening and you're actually putting this stuff into practice. So it took me quite a while to sort through those resumes and pull a few to review today. So we are going to be doing that at the end of some of the training that I have for you. So I want to give a couple just community shout outs. These are just messages that we get every single day from people in my community. So by the way, if you subscribe to this channel, this is people that are watching these videos right now and taking into practice what I teach and putting it out into the world and finding massive success. So here's what Tim wrote. He said, used all of the advice in this video and not only landed a job interview after sending in my resume and cover letter, I got the job. He said, after watching this video, I could see how your format was a lot more direct and to the point, short and sweet. Yes, that's what we're going to talk about today. Ethan said, I had to comb back through my YouTube history to find this video. He said, thank you to Professor Heather Austin. I watched your video the night and the morning before a series of my most recent round of virtual interviews. He said, I'd never felt more prepared for a series of interviews. He goes on to say, I got the job. I'll definitely be referring friends and colleagues to your resources. Thanks so much. And he says, sincerely, a new subscriber. Another community shout out, Margene said, I would like to express my gratitude for giving this tips, and guess what? I got hired this week and will start this coming Monday. I highly recommend this video for job seekers like me. Gianna wrote in and said, I got hired. Thank you for the guidance. I was told I was so impressive and professionally polished that they wanted me to start immediately. Let's see who else we have here. Oh, Ashley, she popped in and said, I just wanted to leave a review and say I discovered your channel senior year of college looking for a job to start my career. All the different resumes I had were getting me nowhere until I tried your template and your format. Ever since then, I got my first job, and 2 years later, I've landed a better position with a bigger company using your template again. So you guys, we've been doing this for a couple years now. We have people that watch these videos and then a couple years later come back to get the latest and the greatest information and then go out again and apply that information and land jobs. So that's why you want to stick around. Okay, let's talk really quickly before we jump into resume mistakes. This is kind of just an overview of what you need to expect moving into 2022 and into the job market. So we all know we have seen massive changes in the job market. 2 years, we would have never predicted that we would be sitting here today in the situation that we are in today in terms of the job market, okay? We had the Great Resignation, if you guys don't know what that is, millions and millions and millions of people, and literally it's millions are quitting their jobs for something different, for something new, for something more fulfilling, okay? In fact, let me know in the chat, give me a yes if you are one of those people. I'm really curious to know. So we've seen that happen. What we've also seen is we are seeing companies offering massive signing bonuses because they're having a really hard time finding the right people for the right job, okay? So this is what you need to keep in mind moving into 2022. We are going to see higher salaries, not just for tech, science, and medicine, okay? This is going to be all across the board. We're going to see better job opportunities for first-time job seekers, okay? And by the way, this should be a hint for any of those that are transitioning careers or have a career gap that now is the perfect time to put yourself out there and get hired, okay? And to stop worrying about the gap or the transition. Okay, we're also going to see companies push greater employee satisfaction. Okay, so companies are really big on customer satisfaction. They've always kind of put I'm not saying all of them, but a lot of them have put employee satisfaction on the back burner. We're going to now see that come forward as we move into 2022. we're going to see hiring processes speed up in some instances because hiring officials are trying to get the right people into those right jobs quicker. So you might see that you've got to move a little bit quicker when you see something, getting your resume in, getting your LinkedIn profile optimized, getting your foot in the door however you can. That process is going to speed up in some instances. Now, the other thing we're going to see is a lot of training and focus on diversity and inclusion. So keep that in mind. And then accountability, okay? A lot of that's going to be playing into it. And then, of course, which is one of the things that when I work with job seekers, we all want, we're going to see a huge uptick in remote work. So keep all that in your mind, you guys, as you're going in to this job market for 2022. Now, let's talk about the resume mistakes. So I'm going to share with you guys 5 mistakes. Let me see who we have in the chat in terms of, I'm seeing a lot of yeses in terms of either resignations, you're looking for a different career opportunity, maybe the current position you have is just not doing it for you anymore and you're ready to take off into something different. I love it. Yes, Sean says the role I'm looking to move into is Vice President of Operations or higher. I love that, Sean. Brittany says, I struggle with not repeating the same wording twice in the work history. Yes, thanks for sharing that, Brittany. Yes, Robert says part of the great pivot. Oh my goodness, isn't it crazy? We would never have predicted we would be here 2 years ago. So let's talk really quickly about the resume mistakes so that you guys can get that resume kind of worked up and in the order that you want it to be in. So the very first mistake that I see, and by the way, you guys, I want you to know, just based on these review shows, I look at hundreds of resumes every single week. So I get the opportunity to see resumes from all over the globe, different people, different walks of life, different levels of positions. And I pay attention to what's coming in the door so that I can give you guys this feedback. So one of the biggest things that I see is not properly using the top half of your resume. Now, I'm going to show you through the examples in just a second what that means. But there's 3 parts that you want to make sure that you're totally aware of, okay? Your contact information, which I'll show you, your headline, and your summary. These 3 are mandatory. There are 2 other sections that I like to look at as optional, but I still like to see them, and I'll tell you when I like to see those, is a professional highlights and a competency section, okay? So there's really 5 parts to that top half, but let's first of all look at the top part, okay? So your contact information. The biggest thing I want you to pay attention to with this contact information is the LinkedIn profile, okay? Your contact information, everyone's contact information, no matter where you live on planet Earth, you need to have a LinkedIn URL in there. Now, there's a couple caveats when it comes to LinkedIn. You have to have an optimized profile. If I'm a hiring manager and I want to go to your LinkedIn profile and I want to learn a little bit more about you, if that profile falls flat, most likely I'm not going to even call you in for an interview, even if your resume did look amazing, okay? So you need to optimize that profile. Now, I'll show you a resource in just a second that you can grab or that you can watch to actually do that, okay? There's 7 parts to the profile that I want you to have optimized. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is I want you to customize your LinkedIn URL. So many times I get, like, for example, this is Sally Smith, but so many times I get a profile that's like, Sally Smith -12398. It's like a string of letters and numbers, right? You need to change that so it's either your name or some version of your name, but not those string of numbers, okay? Let me show you a resource really quickly right here. In fact, Tori, I'll pop this into the chat. Give me a second, you guys. I'm going to pop this into the chat because I have the link right here, Tori, instead of you going to search for that video. This is a tutorial for beginners on how to use LinkedIn. Now, we are doing an updated 2022 version that should be out in the next month or so on my channel, so keep your eye out for that. I think this is almost like a 20-minute tutorial, but this is going to walk you through all the good parts of the profile, okay, so that you have to have optimized. So make sure that as you're putting that profile on your your resume that you also have optimized. Now, I would love to know really quickly, give me a yes or a no in the chat if your profile is optimized, your LinkedIn profile. So just type yes if it is, type no if it's not. And by the way, use that link that I just popped up and I'll pin it to the top really quick. Use that link that I just popped in to watch that tutorial. Now, the next part is your headline. So your headline is going to be the title of the position you want, and then it's also going to be 3 key skills that directly relate to the position. And I'll show you an example of how to tailor this in just a second, but that always needs to be there, okay? I get a lot of resumes where I'm like, what is this person even, what do they even do? Like, what position are they even looking for? What do they want? And I have no clue unless I read through their entire resume. Now, if you put this up there for a hiring official, you're telling them right away the position that you want and what you excel at, okay? That is taking so much time and energy and thought process off of their shoulders. You just made their job that much easier and they're gonna like you that much more. Now, the next part to the summary, again, is going to be, the top half is going to be your summary. So this is where you are going to tell us who you are. You're going to talk a little bit more about your expertise. You can even list your, like a massive accomplishment here. In 2 to 3 sentences or 4 sentences, you're basically explaining how you're going to help that company solve some of those major problems. Let me see where you guys are in terms of, I'm seeing some yeses. Amanda says yes. Diera, I think is how you say your name, says yes. Ryan says no. Robert says yes. I'm seeing like a mix of yeses and nos. Martin says could be better. Make sure you guys watch that tutorial when you're done here today, because that's going to walk you through exactly what you need to have optimized on that profile. Now, here are the sections that are optional, but let me explain how I want you to use these. So you have your highlights and your competencies. So on the highlights section, I love this section for mid to senior level professionals, for career transitioners, career switchers, even for people that have career gaps. And the reason why, and this falls right under that summary paragraph, the reason why is because you're now able to say to that hiring manager, hey, you don't have to go look at my resume for like the deep details. I'm going to give you like 3 to 5 right here that you can look at, and you can basically know looking at this within the first couple of seconds if you want to bring me in for an interview. Of course, the goal is that we want them to bring you in for an interview, but keep in mind that this section works perfectly for that, okay? Now, the other thing that I want you to think about is a core competency section. This is going to fall right under that highlight section. In this case, let me explain core competencies. I like this section to sort of combat the applicant tracking system, meaning they're going to be searching for certain keywords. And I'm not just saying ATS as in a computer bot. I'm saying human readers. They're going to be searching for certain keywords. And if you can list those right up front in a competency section, that again is another opportunity for you to catch their attention right away. And they don't have to go through all your resume to see what's going on. Okay. They can quickly see it here. Now, this section, I'm torn between having my mid to senior level professionals include this because you have so much work experience that you can include that you don't necessarily need the core competencies. I would say take that with a grain of salt, and every resume is going to be different. You have to evaluate your own situation, and you have to evaluate the job you're applying for because every resume is different. But that's just kind of like a few tidbits on the competency section. Now, what I want to know in the chat is what's one of your professional highlights? So type that into the chat. Think about like the greatest, your greatest accomplishments, biggest projects that you've worked on, things that you're most proud of. I want you to start thinking about that because you need to be able to write it on your resume, in your LinkedIn profile, and you need to have a really good career story about it in your interview. So type that into the chat. And while you guys are typing that in, let's move into mistake number 2. And this is not customizing the headline and summary. So this kind of goes hand in hand with what I explained earlier. Your headline and summary what's catching the attention. So I'm going to show you just a couple things that you need to make sure you customize. So here's an example of a job posting, okay? I see the title and I've highlighted some keywords that are popping up in the job title. The job description. You're going to do the same thing. Now, if the company doesn't have a job description and if you're applying for positions that might not be listed, which by the way, my clients and my students do this and I encourage them to do this, you're going to pull keywords from the company website, their social posts. You're going to pull keywords and things from other job postings that they might have just to get an idea of what is it that they really want in their ideal candidate. Okay, so here's an example of the job posting. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to now say, okay, I'm going to take that title. So notice what I've done here is I'm now putting the title as IT project manager. Okay. So I've done that. The other thing I've done is I've replaced those 3 key skills with stuff from the job posting. So let me get my glasses on so I can read this properly. I noticed that they put risk management in there. They put project initiation in there, and they put digital informatics in there. Now, I probably would never even have those words in there, right? But I know that I need to put those in there because that's in the posting, okay? So I got my first 2 lines taken care of. The third line, I'm now going to take some of those other skills that they're listing. They have innovative listed, they have collaborative listed, and they have resilient listed. So what I did is I said innovative, collaborative, and resilient IT project manager. That's all you need to change, okay? If at the bare minimum, just change those 3 things based on the job posting and send your resume out. Now, hopefully everything else looks good and all the other the summary and the highlights and the competencies and the work experience looks amazing. So then all you have to do is change those 3 things and then send the resume out. Let's see. I want to see where you guys are in terms of your highlights. So Alan says, RMF, risk management framework, love that. What I would say, Alan, in terms of that, and this is for everyone, anything else that you're mentioning, Sassy mentioned brand partnership with Toyota, Charm mentioned cancer research, Sean mentioned helping the current nonprofit I work for start their retail and printing companies. Anything that you guys listed here, what you need to do is you need to be able to turn that into some sort of achievement statement with some sort of results that you can list on your resume and talk about in an interview, okay? Like give me a story around that. So now you kind of have like the idea. We need to build that up a little bit more and have some sort of story, but those are all awesome. I love it. Okay, next question for you guys. What key skills can you add to your resume? So share in the chat some of the key skills that you can add to your resume. And while you guys are typing that in, let's move into mistake number 3. And again, that is not including quantifiable results. So I share this in almost every resume live stream that I do because I look at so many resumes and so many times we get like the task, like you'll tell us the task that you've done, but you're not actually telling us the result that you're getting from that task or that the company received or whatever that might be. So here's a simple statement for you guys to put into practice if you haven't already done this. Action verb plus task plus result. Okay, that is what equals a kick butt achievement statement. Okay, action verb plus task plus result. So I'm going to show you this in action really quick. So here's an example, and this is a bad example. Even though it doesn't sound bad, like it actually sounds okay. Hired and managed a team to successfully implement a new database solution. Okay, that's not bad, but what I would encourage you to do is you got to dig even deeper, okay? What you need to do is give us numbers, give us data, give us something else that we can base this statement off of, that we can say, oh, because you did this task, this is what happened, okay? So you kind of do it, you say to successfully implement a new database solution. But let's look at what happens when we add some quantifiable results to this. We're saying we hired and managed a team of 8 product developers, okay? So rather than just hired and managed a team, we're thinking about a little bit more about that team, who was on it, how many people, so on and so forth, to successfully implement a new database solution ahead of schedule. So again, that's another form of quantifying our result, our achievement statement. So rather than just implement a new database solution, we're saying it was ahead of schedule. So notice how you can take a simple a simple achievement statement and get those quantifiable results in there. Awesome. I love it. Okay, so let me see what you guys are saying in terms of key skills. Juan says PMP, Power BI, and data analytics. I love it. Kelly says, as a graphic designer, it's hard to define quantifiable results. Here's the thing, Kelly, it's actually not. What you can do is you can look at what projects you're working on. Are you getting it done on time? Who are your clients? How many projects are you working on at once? How many projects did you complete in one setting? What was the satisfaction of your client? Was it a 90% satisfaction? Was it 100% satisfaction? I get that what you're saying in terms of that's like more of an artistic, like, but there's so much more to the core of that you can actually quantify. You just got to think about those projects. Let's see, Charm, increased revenue fundraising by 30%. That's a perfect one. Yep. What I would love to know is what led to that. Okay. Let's see. Do we need to quantify every bullet point? This is such a good question. So when it comes to your bullet points, I would say you need to do your very best to follow this formula. Okay. Let me go back to the formula really quick. You need to do your very best to get your action verb, your task, and your result in there. Now, you're going to run into timelines, right? Where you've worked hours on your resume and you're like, I got to get this sucker in because this job posting has been out already a week. And I'm getting this sent to my friend so my friend can send it to their CEO or whatever the case might be. So what you're going to run up against is that time factor. If you can't get all of them quantified, I would say get as many as you can, and then it's a bonus or kind of like icing on the top to get all of them in some fashion, giving us that, like, we need to know the result of what you achieved. Okay. But again, you're going to run into time. That's a really good question. Okay. We talked about key skills. Let's move into, okay, what I want to talk about next is mistake number 4, and that is not matching your skills to today's job market. So keep in mind that a lot has changed over the past 2 years, okay? With a new variant out, there's a lot of places in the world that are actually postponing back to work. So people going back to the office. Now there are some parts that are like, we're all back, we're good, everything's working properly. But what you need to be able to show is that your skills are up to date with today's job market. So think about in your industry, what skills are needed to implement any sort of transition, like work from home orders. You are very good at, data analytics. You're very good at working remotely. You're productive working on your own. Like, you have to make sure your resume reflects that. And I like to do like a technical skills section at the very bottom of my resume that shows that you have those skills, that you're not just kind of like lost in thin air, like figuring things out. Okay. That you know what you need to do if you're working remotely, or what you need to do to transition into today's market. So again, keep that in mind as you're moving into 2022. Now, next question for you so far is, what is your biggest takeaway? So list in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway? We are still going to jump into resume reviews. So I have a couple really good resumes that I want to pop up here from real professionals just like you. We're going to go through those reviews. So tell me in the chat, what is your biggest takeaway so far? While you're typing that in, we'll jump into mistake number 5. And this is probably, you guys, one of the most important steps. So tune in if you've kind of tuned out, not applying with intent. So what this means is that you are mass mailing your resume, you're to every open position, you're randomly scouring the job boards, trying to get that resume into any job that comes up, okay? This is one of the biggest mistakes you'll make in your job search, because individuals or professionals that do that see very little results or very little success from their efforts, okay? So what I mean by you applying with intent is you need to selectively choose companies and positions that you are interested in working with, and you need to be able to explain to them either in your cover letter, in your LinkedIn profile, in your resume, in your interview, why you are interested in that position or that company. So we're not just going to randomly go apply for any position, right? We are applying for positions that really meet our long-term career goals, companies that we really want to work for. And then here is the cherry on the top of that is that you can't forget about your network and trying to get a referral, okay? So the other thing, if you guys have seen any of my live streams, we talk so much about this and how big those referrals are. We have seen companies time and time again who will hire someone through a referral over someone that might be more qualified. That's how big referrals are. So if you're getting discouraged and you're like, oh, I'm just not getting the job, but I'm like the perfect fit, I know that no one else could do this job better. If you don't have a referral on the inside and you got rejected from that position, that could be one of the biggest reasons. So again, I want you to jump back to that LinkedIn tutorial because I want you to have your profile optimized, and then you need to go gangbusters on getting that network growing and connecting with other people and developing relationships. Whether that's online or in person, it doesn't matter, because that's really what's going to make the biggest difference when it comes to applying for these positions, okay? Now, if this is making sense to you guys, let me know. Give me a yes in the chat if you understand, yes, I know I need to apply with intent. Okay, now let me ask you guys something while you're typing yes in, because I'm hoping all of you that are here, if you have not yet typed into the chat, give me a yes in the chat, because this is one of the biggest things. But you're probably here at this training today because you're discouraged by the lack of attention that you're getting with your job search, your resume, your LinkedIn profile, whatever it is, however you're putting yourself out there, you're discouraged by the lack of attention. Maybe you have a hard time pinpointing your strengths and highlighting your accomplishments. I know some of you even mentioned at the beginning of this training that how do I narrow down all of my work experience? How do I make that resume so it's either a 1 or a 2 page and doesn't drag on to a 3 or a 4 page, right? Maybe you've even been laid off because of COVID, or maybe you were furloughed, or maybe you're just part of that great resignation, which I know a lot of you are, and you're like, I really want a position that aligns with me, that gives me that greater work-life balance. Now, all these things that I've shared with you guys today, this is not theory. It's not just a good idea. These are all things that my current clients and my current students are using to land work they love. So I want to invite you guys, while you're here today, to join us for our holiday flash sale in the Career Advancement Toolkit. So let me share with you guys, and that's why I wore my holiday necklace. Let me share with you guys what's inside the toolkit. It's an exclusive suite of resources. We have video lessons, templates, guides, instructions, and examples to help you secure your next job offer. It's your time to apply an interview with confidence. Now, let me share some success stories with you. So Ryan popped a message into our Facebook group. He edited his resume and landed 3 interviews in 2 weeks. Now, here's the thing with this story is before purchasing the toolkit, Ryan had only landed 1 interview in 3 years. Okay, 1 interview in 3 years. If you guys do the math on that, after investing in the toolkit, he edited his resume and landed 3 interviews in just 2 weeks. He said this is his words from the group. He said, these tips and tricks Professor Heather Austin discusses are absolutely 100% real deal, real world. And he says, Professor Heather Austin has her finger on the pulse in the industry. And by the way, you guys, I have a team of people and we're constantly doing research on the best tips and the best tricks to provide to you on this channel so that you can have success just like Ryan. Now, here's what happened with Emma. She actually landed a new job in a new industry. So she switched careers after she was let go due to COVID. Here's what happened with Anne Marie. She landed her dream job after putting into practice the tips taught in the toolkit. So she goes on to say, I have the job from the interviews. I know the salary will be much desired with lots of good benefits. And then she goes on to thank me and my team for all the tips. She says, I've gotten my dream job. Now, let me share with you guys really quickly what's inside. Dozens of done for you templates. And by the way, when I say dozens of done for you templates, I'm talking about resumes, different resume templates for different situations, your cover letter templates, LinkedIn profile templates. You even have your interview follow-up templates, basically everything you need to go from step 1 of your job search all the way to the last step of your job search. There's also bonus resume writing video lessons. There's my perfect cover letter how-to guide, my LinkedIn profile essentials starter pack, and my ultimate guide to surviving your job search. So this, again, you guys, is our holiday flash sale. There is a limited time bonus in here. It's the Experts Printable Interview Guide. So it's actually a step-by-step guide to developing standout responses to some of the trickiest interview questions, including behavioral-based questions. And here's the thing, I also include sample responses that you can either tailor or that you can use as guidance to say, am I on the right track with my own answer? Okay, so sample responses. We're also including another limited time bonus, a job interview confidence training. So not just the printable guide, but training to go along with that printable guide. Let me share with you guys what's inside the job interview confidence training. It's actually broken up into 4 modules. So we talk about how to manage nerves and anxiety during your interview. We talk about smart answers to the top 5 commonly asked interview questions. I even give you a simple method for answering behavioral-based interview questions. And then we go into the types of questions to ask your interviewer. In fact, I give you 3 different types of questions to ask your interviewer. Now, I have a fast action bonus for those that are my fast action takers. And this is the first 15 people, okay? The first 15 people to grab the Career Advancement Toolkit will receive a free cover letter workshop. It's actually 5 bonus video lessons where you'll learn how to use your cover letter as a mini sales presentation. So again, that is just for the first 15 people to enroll. I'm going to pop a pinned link here at the top of the chat so that you guys can link directly to it. I know that Tori's popped the chat in there as well, so that you guys can get into that and look at that. Okay, let's move on to our next slide. All the value, if you guys, and it's probably actually worth more than $300, but the total value of all the templates, the trainings, the guides, and the resources is worth more than $300 in the toolkit. But here is our holiday flash sale. You can invest today for just $97. So that's saving you $100 on the toolkit. Let me tell you guys, I do not know another resource out there on the internet right now with everything included for less than $100. And if you know, let me know, because I want to take a look at it and see if it's as good as this. I don't know anything else out there at this price. It's an affordable price for you to take advantage of right away. Don't miss this offer. You can start now and save $100. You'll actually have access right now to everything inside the toolkit. The flash sale expires on Thursday. So on Thursday, December 16th, this is gone. It's going to go back to full price. Such a perfect time for you guys to be getting into this, especially with what you know now of what's going to be in the job market in 2022. So you can go to heatheraustin.online/live offer to get started. Let me share with you guys a couple other success stories. So Claudia landed a new role after creating a successful resume and acing her interview. She says, I just started my job. She says, thank you for all the great resources, training, advice that all played a role in a successful resume application and interview that landed me the role. Here's what happened with Tracy. She turned her internship into a full-time permanent position. So she says, Heather's resource helped me land an interview for a web developer internship. So definitely use her resume and cover letter templates. And then she says, and my internship recently offered me a full-time position She says, I'm so elated. And then she says, I am also switching careers. So this is for anyone that is switching careers. You have employment gaps. You're not happy with where you're at in your current position. You've been laid off or furloughed. This is a one-of-a-kind resource that can get you to that next step. Just like Marguerite, who landed an amazing position that wasn't even advertised. So she says, I just accepted an absolutely amazing position with the company that does not advertise publicly. So by the way, you guys, we get these messages all the time. She says, Professor Austin's resume template also made a big difference. She says, I updated the resume using Heather's template. Amazing results. I love how she wrote amazing in there. Here's what happened with Ed. He had actually given up on his job search right before he had received a job offer from a great company. So here's what he says. Yesterday, I received a job offer from a great company that I accepted this morning. And he goes on to say, the moral of the story is that when you least expect something happens. He says, or maybe it's just to take a mental health day and trust the work you've put in. Okay. Trust the work you've put in. Here's what happened with Abraham. Abraham says, following your advice landed me my dream job today with my limited experience. So here is someone that didn't have a lot of experience. With my limited experience in the field, I was able to prepare the most amazing CV and cover letter with your advice, okay? And he goes on to say, I got half a dozen calls from different companies the past few weeks, and each hiring manager complimented the attention to detail on my CV and cover letter and wanted to meet him. Amazing. Here's what happened to Tanya. She actually applied to 9 positions, landed 6 interviews, and received 3 job offers. And this was all after she got let go from COVID, okay? Now, I know these stories are resonating with you guys because I know you're in the same situation that a lot of these job seekers are. So I want to invite you to join us inside of the Career Advancement Toolkit during our holiday flash sale. You can grab the toolkit for $97. Go to heatheraustin.online/live offer. Tori's also has the link in there. I have the link popped at the top for you. We will, by the way, still be doing resume reviews in just a second. Let me share with you guys what happened with David. So David landed a position with in the biotech industry. He says, this past week, I landed a wonderful new position. COVID may have taken my last job, but it also provided me a new one. And I am working for a biotech company that is fighting to end the COVID pandemic. He said, I can't thank you enough for all you have done to help me get on the right track that has led me to this position. He says, I now make more than I thought was possible, all while doing something that helps others. So the goal here, you guys, is to help you land that life-changing position, okay? Now, the toolkit is just one of the resources that we offer, but it's one that we are having our flash sale on. So again, if you guys want to grab that today, make sure you jump in. Let me show you the link again, heatheraustin.online/live offer. You'll have access to it right away. And by the way, the first 15 people to enroll will have access to the cover letter workshop, okay? That's a free bonus that you have access to just by being a fast action taker, okay? Now, I want to still do resume reviews. It looks like we have a lot of people jumping in to the toolkit. Tori is welcoming everyone in the chat. Thanks so much, Tori, for doing that. She also has questions, so we will get to some of those. And I also want to do resume reviews, so we have those as well. So welcome everyone who is joining the toolkit. So excited to see you guys in there. By the way, that the offer for the first 15 people will be gone today, possibly by the end of this live stream. So if you are on the fence and you're like, should I do it? The next little while, the next hour is probably the best time for you to get in and grab this. I love this question from Matt. Matt says, what makes the format you use so much better than others? This is such a good question. So here's the thing, Matt. I work with a team of people to come up with these formats. They're not just pulled out of thin air. They are resume writers, other career coaches, recruiters, other people that we look at what is getting attention. And all I can say is that every single day, I get some message from somewhere on either a social or in my email that said, I made these few little changes based on your template and I got the job. And like they talk about using other people's templates, and there are other templates out there. And you know what? You can customize those other templates. Inside the toolkit, it's not just the resume, it's your cover letter template. It's all of your interview follow-up templates. So let's say you had an interview. What are you going to say after that interview? What are you going to say after the second interview? What are you going to say if maybe you got rejected from the job? So there's all those templates in there. The other one of my favorite parts of the toolkit is the LinkedIn template. So you have a template that actually walks you through how to create your about or your summary section, which is the most difficult part for anyone to create. That's also inside the toolkit. So all I can say is I know it gets results because I get messages from people all over the globe every single day. And here's the thing is when it stops getting results is when we will change it and make sure it gets results. And by the way, did I mention you guys also have lifetime access to the toolkit? So anytime we change it, which we will be looking into 2022 and what additions we're going to make and changes and whatnot, you have access to that. Good question. Okay, let me answer a few questions before we get to resume reviews. Thanks, Tori, for popping all those questions in. Let's see. Okay, Charm says, Heather, what do you think about rejection feedback? If you get a standard email, does this mean the company did not read it? It depends. So those standard emails, some of them you can kind of tell if it's like either a copy and a paste from someone or like an automatic response. I would say with those rejections that come through, number one, don't take it personal. Number two, don't imply that that's like game over for you with this job or with the company. I would say reach out to anyone on the inside that you can. That's why those connections are so important. And then see if there is anyone else that like, hey, can you put a good word in for me? Can you find out what's going on with this position? And then keep in touch with the company, because here's the thing. If they're hiring for one role, they're hiring for two roles or two positions, okay, or three positions or 100 positions. So keep that relationship open and keep the communication going with that company. That's a good question. Okay, let me jump into resumes really quick because we have a few. And by the way, the individuals that were selected for the resume review, you guys have been notified. So we sent an email last night. I do want to share one quick thing with you. Speaking of templates. So let me share this screen with you really quickly so you guys can see what I'm talking about. This is just kind of like a quick glance, and I don't even think we have all of them here because we add new templates and I don't always think about adding it to our enrollment page. But this is if you go to the page where it lists the toolkit offer, you'll see all of the templates that are inside there. So your professional executive resume template, cover letter, application follow-up, in-person interview follow-up, 1 week after. So let's say that you just have already applied, but you're not hearing back. A job rejection, your phone interview, your reference sheet, your resignation letter, all of that is like in a nice, easy go-to place for you inside of the toolkit. So again, it just kind of puts it all together and you have access to it through a learning management system, and you can kind of pick and choose, what do I need right now? Do I need to get ready for this interview? Do I need to get my resume in order? So you kind of pick and choose all the things that you might need. Okay, let's jump into the first resume. So this resume, let me refresh my memory on this person's resume really quickly. Okay, here is this resume. They said, I have written and rewritten my resume thousands of times, and then says that's a tiny exaggeration. I have had others pursue, it looks like you've had others kind of look at it as well, and still no hits. You go on to say, I would like your professional opinion, and in return, have a resume that has the ability to leap to the top of the pile of any recruiter's desk and the ability to get me an interview. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about what I like and what we can change. So you guys can see, I'm pretty sure you guys can see that whole thing. So here's the thing that I like. I do like that I can see all of your sections nice and clear. I like that the dates are easy to read. They're also, you guys will notice they're in the correct format. So anytime you're formatting a date on your resume, make sure you put the numbers, like the month and the year in there. I like that I can see each position nice and clearly. I do like education is listed and another section. Can you guys see the other section at the bottom? You can. Computer skills. I like all of that. Now, let me tell you just a few quick guidelines on what I would do differently. Now, and by the way, I wanted to show this one because this is for anyone here today or anyone that will listen to this on a replay that is a career, that has a career gap. So what you'll notice, and I like how you've done this, what she's done is she's listing her experience at her gap. And when you list a gap in a resume, normally I'm not a big fan of it. However, when it's a really long period of time, it's totally okay to list. Now, if it's like a 1 or a 2 year gap, well, sorry, I should say a 1 year. If it is a 1 year gap, you could list it. If it's less than a 1 year gap, normally you're not going to include a whole entire section about it. But notice that she has volunteer and family caregiver. So that makes sense to actually list those out. And notice if you look at the number of years that she was in that position, or I should say in that situation, okay? So I think that's okay. I do like what you're doing here in terms of you're giving us those quantifiable achievements. This is really hard to do when you're either a volunteer or you're taking time off as a caregiver, right? But I really like what you're doing here, and you're really like making this sound amazing. Like, this is the work I did in these positions, and then you're going in and listing that. I really like that. What I would like to see you do, however, and I like your summary of qualifications, because this kind of reminds me of what I mentioned you guys earlier with the highlight section. I would love, however, to see that title and that headline at the top, because I wasn't even sure what type of position you were going for. I didn't know. And I know you'll be saying when you send your resume, this is for this position, but I want to know, like, how do you see yourself? So for example, do you see yourself, and I'm not saying you're going to go apply for vice president of sales, but do you see yourself as that? And what is that? I want to see that at the top of your resume. And then I also want to see those key skills. Now, keep in mind, this template is the one inside of the toolkit. This is not a template that we offer for free anywhere on any of our, in any of my videos or anywhere else. This is the template that is in the toolkit, and my Academy students have access to this. This is the template that I want you to use, or some version of this, where I want to see that position and I want to see those 3 key skills. I would also love to see a summary, and then I would love to see your highlights right below that. And the reason why I'm saying that for you is because you have those 2 positions where they probably weren't paid, right? Because one says volunteer, one says family caregiver. But then notice you have a position with Pfizer Pharmaceuticals. Like, that's amazing. Like, I want to see that. I want to see you mention that in your highlights. I want to see, which I know that you've mentioned up here, but I want to see you mention some of those things it's going to catch my attention right away. And I also want to see like some of those more profound accomplishments. So again, I would love to see that at the very top, where I know exactly what position you're going for. I know what your key skills are. I don't think you need to list competencies, but these top sections I would love to see. Now, I can't remember if you listed, I don't think you have a LinkedIn profile up here. So again, make sure you get that profile created and get the link to it inside of that about section in the top head. I would also love to see your name a little bit bigger. Like I know and I see where you're going with, like, it's not as profound and it's not as announced. I would love to see it just increased a little bit, because that's going to catch my attention a little bit more. There was something else I wanted to mention. Oh, okay. Down here at the bottom. Okay, let me mention one more formatting thing. I would love to also see your dates a little bit more left aligned. So for example, if we look at the Toolkit resume, notice that I'm pretty close to the very, right margin. I want to see your dates line up that far out. So rather than having them in, the other thing I wanted to mention, the dates on your education, because they're kind of far out, and I get what you're trying to do in terms of lining them up with the other dates, and that does create, it does make it more parallel. But let me show you really quickly how we do this in the Toolkit. Is I actually list it just as the year, the graduation year, and I list it with everything. So it's kind of more grouped together. Now that's personal preference, but again, I'm like a formatting geek, okay? Like I like to format things and make them look really good. So I would almost do it that way. But I think how you have it listed is fine. Okay, what I was going to mention on the computer skill. So I don't want the word computer, okay? The word computer to me dates your resume. I want the word technical skills or professional skills or something to that effect. Because computer, yes, everyone knows how to use the computer. But I want technical skills, because that just lifts it up just a little bit. The other thing I want to see you do here is I want you to list your most important skills. So for example, you list Microsoft Office. Pretty much everyone on planet Earth, I shouldn't say not everyone, because my mom doesn't know how to use Microsoft Office, but most people know how to use Microsoft Office. And that's a skill that if you're applying for a job, they are expecting you to know that. I have some job seekers that don't even list it because it's such a given, right? And I guess that's more for those technical positions, but I don't want to see Microsoft Office as one of your first skills. I want to see those more technical skills that relate directly to your industry, like what you talked about with your Pfizer database. And then you see what you've done really well here is you have listed those skills that are more up to date right now, like Skype and Zoom and Google Hangouts. Then I want to see those. Then I want to see Microsoft Office. Okay. I want to kind of just mix those up because I want to see the most important ones first. Overall, really good though. So let me know, you guys, is that helpful? I have a couple more. I think I'm going to do at least one more review. Tell me if this is helpful for you to see real world resumes and for you to see what can I do different to my own resume, and to make it even better. And I love what she mentioned earlier. Let me see if I can pull that up. It was so perfectly said. She said, I want the ability to leap to the top of the pile of any recruiter's desk and the ability to get me an interview. Hopefully that does it for you. And by the way, you guys, just so you know, a lot of people that I actually review their resume, they go out and they make these changes and they land interviews right away and job offers right away. Like it's pretty quick how it's crazy how quick it happens. Awesome. Good. So glad this is helpful for you guys. Awesome. I love it. Odwin, and I think that's how you say your name, says, between the hectic, out of control schedule and my lack of social media skills, the Toolkit purchase was a no-brainer. Looking forward to diving in and learning so much. Yes, I totally agree with you. And by the way, you guys, we don't know how long the Toolkit, we will have it priced this low for a flash sale. We actually won't do another flash sale probably until March of next year. But as I'm looking, and we are constantly keeping our pulse on what's happening in the job market, I'm like, these guys need this right now to get ready moving into January. And it's pretty much the most low committal offer out there or product out there that gets you in the door and gets you going pretty quickly. Awesome. Okay, let's jump into, oh, there's so many good ones. Okay, I do want to review. Let me do this one because this one is going to speak to more of my academic professionals, which I know I get a lot of you visiting the channel. So this resume to me, when I first glanced at it, and I'll kind of scroll through as I'm talking. This resume to me was definitely an academic professional. So what I would have been curious to know is, are you applying for a position in academia? If you are, this actually is great. You can go on to these multi-page resumes and be totally fine. However, if you are applying for a corporate position, I want to see you cut this down to 2 pages. And I'm going to just go through really quickly on how you're going to do that, okay? Now, and as I do that, I'm going to make just a couple different critiques here. I like how you've listed PhD at the top. So if you guys have an advanced degree, like a PhD or an MBA or whatever, that's okay to list it at the top. You'll notice I did that inside of the template in the toolkit. Okay, so that's totally fine. I think that's great. The one thing I didn't love is for LinkedIn, you're giving me a tiny URL. I don't want a tiny URL on your LinkedIn profile. I want the actual URL, and I want it to be your name in some version. No numbers or letters. That has to be customized, okay? I do like also that you are listing your, like, I'm assuming this is sort of like the title that you're going for. So I like that. And I do like that you are listing those key skills. So that I think is fantastic. In terms of you being a native to your location, I don't think that's necessary. That could be discriminatory even. So I would like think twice about adding that. But I do think whatever that position is, I want to see it up at the top, and then I also want to see the key skills directly related to that position. Okay, so if you guys remember back to that slide, we're going to transfer that exactly over. Now, I can tell you are a PhD because PhD people write just like this. And that's why I said to you, this is perfect if you are going for academia or you're going for that position that they 100% are looking for that PhD person, okay? Because that is a special skill that not everyone has. Now, the thing I would keep in mind here, if you are going for more of a corporate level, what you have to do is really condense this. So I really only want to see like 5 sentences of information. Okay. I want to see, and by the way, I forgot to cross your name out, but that's okay because I don't list anything else. You're now speaking as you're saying Ryan's career has been driven by blah, blah, blah. We're getting this is a little bit, when it comes to resume writing, we don't ever want to list me, my, you're never going to say I or your name. It's such a specific way of writing. And that's what I want you to think about when it comes to this paragraph here. We need to shorten it and we need to get only what's relevant in there. Now, again, keep in mind, this is if I'm going for a corporate position. The rest of it, I think if it's in academia, I think you're okay. I actually think the only thing you would need to change again would be that tiny URL, making sure this is specific to the position, and then getting rid of your name inside of the summary. In terms of condensing, again, you would just want to pull out what's relevant. And by the way, I don't love these bullet points. Again, those bullet points to me are what I mentioned in the previous resume. I think it dates the resume. So I would get just like a nice, let me show you really quickly. We just have a nice little round dot. Okay, let's just use that. Those bullet points I just don't love. So I would switch that up. But you have some fantastic accomplishments here. You've listed some really great quantifiable achievements. I think that's awesome. Watch your spacing here, because notice this is a font size, and then this is a whole separate font size. Like your education, you almost like shrunk it down a font size. I would be careful of that. Just double check that. Make sure that that's going to be the same size as the rest of the resume. You have core competencies. Again, keep in mind, if we are doing a corporate resume, you're going to be removing a lot of this. In fact, I would even say putting your professional associations after your experience, because experience is going to be one of those more important items. So experience is going to fall after your highlights. Education could even fall after the experience if it is not an academic resume. Okay. Again, I should probably use this on an academic resume review show, because it's kind of a different beast, I guess, if you could say. Love that you listed the work sabbatical. I think that's great. Yeah, I think this is good in terms of you're giving us the information that we need. And if I was hiring someone for this role, there's a lot of great experience here that I would be pulling from. I like that you mentioned your volunteer experience as well. The only thing I would maybe do, again, is pull the professional associations to the bottom, especially since, I mean, you have you have a couple that are present, unless that's a big thing that they're looking for. So again, you guys, this is a really good example of every resume is going to be different depending on the position. So if he is applying for a certain position in academia, we're going to target that position exactly. However, if he's targeting a position in corporate, we're going to drill down, take out all the unnecessary stuff that they just don't need to know, and know that they have 6 seconds to look at this and then they're done. So keep that in mind as you're going through, as we're looking at these reviews. Okay, I want to answer some questions. Yes, Sanjana says it would be nice if you reviewed an IT resume. We do get a lot of those. I'll make a note of that so that next time we pop one of those in. Okay, let me see. Awesome. Looks like we have some fantastic people joining us inside of the toolkit. I love it. Stephen says, what about including dates with regard to ageism? This is so good. Yes. So when it comes to ageism, there is a time where you're only really listing what's relevant. Okay. So you'll get to a point in your career where you have to evaluate that. Like, do I want to list the date that I graduated college? Am I going all the way back to that position I held 20 years ago? The thing with the resume is you're really only listing what's recent. So we want to see anything from 10 to 15 years. Even 15 years is kind of far to go back. Now, again, it depends on the position and the organization. Okay. Some companies are okay with you listing 10 to 15 to 20 years back, but most of the time, 10 to 15 years is how far you're going to go. As you're getting further and further away from college and that kind of thing, you're not going to necessarily list your college degree. Let me show you guys what you will do if you had a position that was was earlier on in your career, but it was like 10 to 15 years ago, but you wanted them to know that you held that position because the position might directly relate to what the new company is you're applying for or that new position. You're basically just going to list the company name, the title, the city and the state or the location, and then the dates you were employed. That's all you're going to list. You're not going to go into greater detail. Okay. That's going to be for some of your older positions. And then again, the other thing I wanted to mention here, you mentioned, here's the thing you have to be careful about with ageism too, is listing how much experience you have. I know there's we want that experience to be valuable and we want to be able to say we have 20 years in this industry, but at the same time, that could pigeonhole you in terms of, wait, did they are they too experienced for this position? So another thing I like to do, rather than saying with over 15 years of experience, I like to say with extensive experience, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So rather than listing the years, that's just one way to look at it. Such good question. Sorry, I keep popping on to that slide. HeatherAustin.online/live offer. If you guys want to join us in the toolkit, remember, we are only going to have this offer available until Thursday. So a couple days. Let me see if there's any last minute questions that I can answer. Really quickly. And Tori, anything else that we want to, I think we're good. Let me go to Mario. Mario said, I have a basic LinkedIn profile and don't have very many connections. Is it best to leave it off the resume? I would say, Mario, get working on the LinkedIn profile as quickly as possible. If you don't have your profile built out yet, what you need to at least do is get a headshot in there, get your headline, get a summary, and then on the work experience, just list the actual jobs and the dates, and still list it. And then after that, go out and build it out. Like I would spend like some time doing that. I did list that video, you guys, in the chat, the video that you can watch to learn how to optimize your profile. And by the way, that's a free video on the channel. So I would take care of it right away. That's a really good question. Okay, let's see. Gwen says, can I make a bullet point about how many projects I have done in a year? Yes, I love that. That is a fantastic option. Make sure, that you give us specifics about those projects, deadlines, how many people worked on it, what the result of the project was. Matt says, I was an IT director and changed it to IT so I can get any level position. I'm willing to work any IT job. Okay, Matt, here's the thing. I would say, and I'm going to push you a little bit, stick with those director/manager level jobs, especially right now. I know, especially when you start getting desperate and you're like, I'm willing to work any job. If that's the case, yes, you're making the right decision in terms of taking that off. But at the same time, I still want you to go for those positions because we are seeing hiring happening at lightning speed right now. And there are those positions out there. So don't give up on that. Awesome. Chip says, is it best to put your go-to by name at the top of your resume? Yes. Whatever name you go by. Well, okay, it depends because some people have like, I've worked with clients before where they have like a legal name and then a go-to name. If you're going to list your go-to name, make sure it's also on your LinkedIn profile. Okay. They all have to match up. Georgia says, if I'm still at school, but I have some professional experience, should I put the education part above the experience part or not? Yes. So if you are still in school, you're always going to list your education at the top. So recent grads, still attending college, keep that education section up there, and then list the experience. Someone says, what are the errors to avoid in resume writing style? If you missed any of those mistakes that I covered earlier, make sure you watch that because we talk a little bit about that. In terms of style, there's so many things we could talk about. We could live stream all day about the style of a resume. I would say, you guys, again, keep with this simple format. This is something that you're definitely going to want to keep with the simple format. We don't want you to use any fancy fonts and formatting and yada, yada, yada. Keep it just nice and simple. Okay. That makes it easy for the human reader. It makes it easy for the ATS reader. It overall kind of brings it all together. So good. Yasmin says, may you help with the LinkedIn profile? Yes. Let me post this. Let me see if I can grab this video again and I'll post it in there. I do have that free video that you guys can watch. It is on LinkedIn. It's about 20 minutes. It's like a tutorial and I walk you through every single part of the LinkedIn profile that needs to be optimized. And by the way, LinkedIn does change quite a few things frequently on their platform. We are releasing a brand new tutorial for 2022 So keep your eyes out for that. But for now, this one is just as good. Like we go in detail quite a bit. Awesome, you guys. Okay, thank you to all those who are joining us inside the Academy. If you guys have any questions at any time, feel free to email me at heather@professораustin.com. Tori and I are both in the inbox taking questions and all that good stuff. And we will make sure that we get your questions answered, especially about the toolkit. Again, first 15 people, which I'm not sure if we have any more 15 of those 15 spots left, will receive a free cover letter workshop as a fast action bonus. But again, at least make sure you get in and grab the toolkit before Thursday. It's a 2-day flash sale. Any other questions or comments, post below this video. After the replay, will be also in the comments answering those questions. So you guys, happy holidays. Do you love that necklace? Anyway, happy holidays and enjoy the next couple weeks. I'll see you in 2022 for more trainings and videos and amazing content coming your way. Make sure you hit the like button if you haven't already done so on this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this. And if you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified when I go live. And I'll see you guys in the next video.